ladies and gentlemen, I am coming from the northern part of Poland. I live in a very nice small city, Sopot, but Sopot is located between big city of Gdansk and a modern port called Gdynia. So it's so interesting that we have three cities and one destination. That's very interesting. And also, this destination is inside of a region that is called Kashubs. And I want to say that it's relatively easy to define multi-level government concept, because I have been dealing with cross-border cooperation for more than 20 years. Thanks to Professor Efraim Nimi, it's easier now to talk about NTA, because he said it's not a single system, but it's a family of different systems. But to find relations between two concepts, this is really a challenge, and it's also a challenge to find relations between minority and heritage. So this is one of the objectives. I want to say that the concept of minority heritage management is kind of a new idea, because I have been the author of, co-author of several programs, strategy. At the moment I'm working for the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, but for the first time, thanks to NTA, I thought, okay, but is it possible to create a model of the minority heritage management? And this is one of the objectives of my presentation. I have to say that one of the elements, it's not only theory, but I have been living many years, and according to the system of cooperation, I received the honorary title of Kasheba. It means my family comes from Lvov, which is now in Ukraine, but I have been living so many years that I have been promoting, and I am very honored that they gave me this title, so I can use also participatory observation method. Okay, we know that there are so many concepts. I would only mention about three. Diversity management tool, as our friend Professor Tov said, or collective right-based concept, or a category connecting broad range of institutions. But what is the problem? The problem is that when I was listening to Professor Nimi, I have seen that there are so many definitions, so many typologies, that even sometimes we are talking about different things using the same name, or we are using the same name, but we are thinking about different things. So this is one of the problems concerning management, because I think sometimes it's very important to find the neutral term, because if we speak about Kashubians, there is such a big tension. I have to be so delicate, so correct, so politically correct, because it's extremely important. And my model, this is the proposal, my model shows the relation between the most important stakeholders. And I think that I would start with the neutral term, ethnic community. It's not the perfect, but at the moment it is the term that I find the relation between this community, state authorities, international governmental organization, non-governmental, and then, according to the concept of European Charter of minorities, I found for the most important stakeholders. Okay, we all know that the Council of Europe plays a very important role. We know also that it is inspired by UNESCO. Also, the European Commission is important because they have money. Council of Europe has prestige, and the European Commission has also money. And what I want to say, that this is one of the elements, that if we have this charter, okay, the Council of Europe is monitoring. Then the Polish government gives the comments, and then we have recommendations. So this is one of the tools at European level. Then we have international non-governmental organization. It's very important that different minorities have the opportunity to work in European Federation. What are the crucial determinants of minority heritage management? There are a lot of determinants, but I would concentrate on four. Political, legal, social, and economic determinants. As far as legal tools are concerned, it's very important. It's very important to analyze the legal system, because the legal system, especially national legal system, for me is one of the most important determinants, because then it gives opportunities for the heritage management. And I'm analyzing the group of Kashubs. Kashubs live in the northern part of Poland. They speak their own language, but there was also discussion, is it a language or it's not a language? And I will talk about it later. What is important? It's important that 98% of the population lives in the region called Pomerania. What I want to say, I was also involved in the process of preparing the strategy for the Pomeranian voivodeship. We used to have 49 voivodeships in Poland, now we have only 16. And it is very important that for the first time in history, all Kashubians, it means nearly all Kashubians, are in one administrative unit. That's very important, and it is the success of the Kashubian group that they are able. The black color, it means that there is no Kashubians in that area. But it's relatively easy to say, okay, where are the Kashubian? But it's very difficult to say which city is the capital. Why? Because there is no official capital. And I give you one example that Kashubians say, okay, Gdansk is the city, but some people didn't like this idea, and you see, yeah. Kashubians from southern said, no, it's not Gdansk, it's Kartuzy. So we see kind of competition between different cities to say which city is a Kashubian, but it's also something important in marketing. There are two Kashubian cities, very important. Kościerzyna, Kłęscezyna, Kashubian, and Kartuzy, they are competing. They all wanted to be capitals of Kashubia, because of course Gdańsk is a big Hanseatic old city, and Kashubians were never dominating. But Kartuzy and Kościerzyna, okay. They both said that we are capitals, and I was thinking, how to find the solution, how to compromise, and we found the solution. That we said that Kartuzy is the capital, but Kościerzyna is the heart of Kashubia, and that was one of the elements to find this question. Okay, Kashubian heritage, as every heritage. Material and non-material elements. One of the elements is the language. You have seen this Kashubian alphabet. What was the idea? The idea was that people living in Kashubia didn't have the ability to write and read. And during the German domination, they all had the ability to sing. I am a very bad singer, but the idea, that is the Kashubian language. So if you visit Kashubia, they say, okay, now you have to learn Kashubian, and they start. To je kruči, to je duči, to Kaszewsko stolica. So the idea is that they sing, they show the elements, because people in Kashubia had the ability to know all the songs, so this is one of the symbols and elements of the Kashubia. Now, I was analyzing the literature. According to literature, the question was who are Kashubians? Some people said, okay, it's a regional ethnic community. I said, no, it's ethnic community. It's indigenous ethnic group. They said, no, you are not right. It's a regional cultural community. small nation, ethnic minority. This is according to literature. Because the problem is that if you ask Kashubians, it was also very difficult. And now, and another, if we take the Polish law, this is very, very interesting, that we don't have the status for Kashubia. Yeah? Because official category is national minority, ethnic minority, and they created a new category because they didn't know what is the real status. Why regional? Because according to Polish law, it's the law on regional language. That's why they had to create a special category only for Kashubs. But the problem is that not everyone liked it. Because there is something called double self-identification. And I also wanted to ask you, maybe in Latvia, some people have also this phenomenon. I said maybe, that, for example, maybe some people say, okay, we are both Latvian and Poles, is it possible? Like I was in Lviv in Ukraine, and there was very difficult. So if we take, this is very important. There, nie ma Kaszub bez Polonii, a bez Kaszub Polski. It means there is no Poland without Kashubia, there is no Kashubia without Poland. And this is very important. This is one of the examples, cases, when it shows that it may work. According to official statistics office, when they ask what's your identity, you see the thing is that the majority said we are Polish Kashubian. This is not the problem, but the problem is what they speak. Do they speak language or a dialect? And that was very important, not only political, but that was a legal question. So they hired specialists and say, okay, so it was a dialect, but now we may say that it's a language. And it was the Kashubian victory because it was officially recognized as a language. It was so important using the concept, the definition of the Council of Europe that it was recognized that there is the language, it has the symbol. Of course, some people started to use this CSB symbol in the plate of the car, pretending that there is new country called Kashubia. But of course, every such happening happens in every place. But the number of people speaking Kashubian is increasing.
Wow.
This is important. This is increasing. Why? Because at the moment it became trendy to speak Kashubian. Kashubian was forbidden during the communist time. People said that if you spoke Kashubian, the teacher treated like this. Now it's really very trendy to speak Kashubian. There is still not enough textbooks. It's not spoken in some primary schools, but I would have to say it's a process, and this process is not so bad. If we think about Kashubian institutions, it's very important to show that two institutions are playing the role of a leader. That was the first institution, it's Kashubian Pomeranian Association, but we have the second institution, because if you see the objectives of this first leader, the very important organization that created the Council of Kashubian Language, this is the most important and the biggest association. Here on the map you see there are over 60 clubs of the Kashubian Pomeranian Association, but not everyone was satisfied. And the second association was created. It's not so neutral. One of the objectives is consolidation of Kashubian nationality status. So it's a little bit different stakeholder. If we think about government organization, it's very important to say that there is the Department of National Ethnic Minorities, but theoretically Kashubians are neither ethnic or national, they are regional. So how they solved? They solved this problem that they called it the minority using regional language. It's the official term, minority using regional language. And when I wrote the report of the governor, it was written that in Kashubia they cooperate only with one organization. It's the official partner for the Polish government. So this partner is recognized by the government administration. Of course, we have self-government administration, and Kashubs are very active. We have Kashubs in gmina level, commune level, county level, regional level. Sometimes Kashubs are even heads of different cities, different regions, so they are very active. Commercial institutions are relatively weak. Why? Because Kashubs are not so rich. They created a small Kashubian bank, but it's just a regional bank, so frankly speaking, it has a name, so it is not. But culture institutions are very strong. There are several museums, and one of the most interesting museums is the Open Air Museum. There is also the Museum of Music, there is the Museum of Culture, and there is the Museum of the Kashubian Heritage. We also have several institutions dealing with Kashubian heritage, but as a tourist product. So one of the most interesting things is the festival of Kashubian cuisine, for example, because it's always very interesting to taste different products, but we have different games, different competitions. So it's also, and what is really interesting? This is very interesting. I graduated from the University of Gdańsk. And many years ago, Kashubs were just a small minority, but they were more and more active. And a few years ago, there was the idea that we would open the new class, the new study called Kashubian ethnophilology. Okay, what happened? It started, and after 2 or 3 years, there were not too many tourists, students, so they closed it, and there were protests, but the university said, sorry, it's not economically, so they quickly find a solution because they didn't want to create problems, and now it's working. And the number of students is like 10 or 12, but it's still working after those protests. It's very important to admit that Kashubians received their media, relatively new media. There is Radio Kashubę, there is Kashubian television, but in a very limited area, but there is Kashubian and several Kashubian newspapers. And this is what we said. We have ambassadors. And one of the biggest, most important ambassadors is Donald Tusk. And also my friend, unfortunately, he was killed, the mayor of Gdańsk, Paweł Adamowicz. He was killed by the nationalists. Do you know what Paweł is doing at the moment? There is the Kashubian tradition to consume tobacco. Why? Because they are working on the sea, on the lakes, and they had problems with seas. And when they put, it helped them to health. So there is the tradition. Officially, it was forbidden by the Polish European Union, but we found the way to show that it's the tradition because it's real tobacco. Yes. So we are accused that we promote, and this is one of the elements to show that the events are very important. The most important day, I say, is the day of the unity of Kashubs. It's the biggest tradition, and it's organized every year in a different place. And I think that it shows that it's possible to manage this heritage, but the most important thing is that Kashubs became very active. They feel the potential, and when they feel this potential, they're able to become the stakeholders. So I would say that there are different concepts of non-territorial autonomies, but it's possible to find the link between the concept of multi-level governments and minority heritage management, and I would say that if we think about determinants of minority heritage management, I think that those elements are very important. Political, which is state policy, that at the moment is very positive. Legal, we have introduced this new law. Social conditions, which is self-identification and social capital, and economic, mainly external resources. This is at the moment a small problem, and maybe it will be possible to use EU money. Kashubs are an example of a minority with very rich culture, but complex and difficult self-identification. Some of them prefer to be called national minority, others say that no, we are ethnic minority. So this is one of the elements, because it's a new problem for them. They were simply Kashubs, and now someone wants them to say, who are you? So it's a new issue, and they think what will be better. At the moment, some of them realize that as far as legal aspects are concerned, for them it will be better to be called national ethnic minority than regional minority, because they will receive more privileges. So a number of stakeholders at the moment, internal stakeholders, are very active, and I think maybe it's good that there is a competition between two leaders. One is more neutral, and the second is more radical. But still, I would say that this is a good example that it's possible to show that Poles and Kashubians can cooperate. Like, for example, in the Poles and Latvians, we had very good borders with Latvia 50 years ago, and maybe this idea that we will have a common border in the future would also be a good example. Thank you. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'm very glad that the gentleman has been brought back in politics, because I think a problem with NPA discussions is that they're too normative and not enough politics and not enough history. So I'll leave it at that. The second point about terminology, I would encourage also these discussions and others to keep in mind that the term ethnic actually was reintroduced or introduced, especially in American usage, from the 1960s. So what I'm saying is, because in English, if you say nationality, even today, people tend to understand it as meaning citizenship. So the English, and especially the Americans, who didn't like the idea of talking about national minorities in America, I mean, that doesn't sound good, so we say we have ethnic minorities. But I'm making all this point because you have discussions which are based on English language texts, which are translated into other languages, and I think I have to leave it at that, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. I think people should be more demanding in translating these terms. And then the last point is a footnote. You probably know that in 1934-35, Malinowski wrote the preface to a book about the Kashubs. B.1 discussed it, but also other people discussed it. But the interesting thing is that I think Malinowski probably did not know anything about post-Marxism. But the interesting point is that in 1940 or so, Malinowski was in New York, and he met Felix Gross, who is the uncle of Jan Gross. And Felix Gross explained after Marxism to Malinowski. So, as you see, Malinowski, the Kashubs, they all go together.
I would say, because it's so interesting and important to say that in many cases in Poland, when people were asked who who are you? Some of them say miejscowy, means local. Because it's so difficult to find a perfect neutral name that I even think that the word minority is not the best. Because minority means that you are something smaller in something bigger. So I would also think about maybe using the most neutral community, maybe. Yeah.
It should be one of the key messages. Some more questions I can see.
Two relatively, I hope relatively straightforward questions. I was interested with the discussion of the capital. I'm just curious if there were any particular impacts or results of declaring either one of these cities a capital that's worth passing on, or a part. And then also, though, so obviously the Kashubian community is clearly distinguished by language. But when it gets into the cultural aspect, I wonder how much overlap there is with other people in the same region who wouldn't describe themselves as Kashubian. So, I mean, even something as simple as people working on the sea snorting tobacco as a traditional thing, is that something that in any way, or are any of the cultural practices that are celebrated as Kashubian, how do they overlap with other communities or general goals or anything in the region? I'm not 100% sure how to ask questions, but it was clear.
Okay, I will start with the capital. I think at the moment it has mainly the marketing reason to show the maybe not marketing, promotional aspect. It's only promotional aspect because it's very difficult to show how to find the capital. I mean, which element. Is it the biggest city, or is it the city with the biggest, highest percentage of Kashubian? So we have 4-5 cities that are candidates for the capital, and I think that it's better to treat as marketing aspect, because there is no need. Yes. There is no need to find the real capital of Kashubia, because it's impossible simply. So I think that this situation will not be solved. And another situation about different cultures and aspects, it's interesting, because you see, the official term of the region is Pomerania. So I think that even the name of this association was politically correct. It's Zrzeszenie Kaszubsko-Pomorskie, it means Kashubian-Pomeranian Association, because not everyone living in Pomerania treats himself as Kashubian. That's the thing. Kashubian has Kashubians were kind of a rural community. So the majority of tradition is a rural tradition. It means, but the culture is kept, is preserved so well that if you go, that it's maybe it's not the best for the heritage, but this tradition became a tourist product. So it's the way it works, that people want to take part in Kashubian wedding. Try Kashubian cuisine, take part in Christmas, those different traditions that they visit home, they sing songs. So I think it's a mixture of Kashubian and non-Kashubian heritage. And I want to say that 20-30 years ago, people didn't want to show that they are Kashubs because they were not treated well. They were treated as a rural minority. And the thing was that the older people at the moment speak with characteristic Kashubian accent. The young people sometimes are bilingual, but sometimes it's very funny that if a politician wants to make a career in a local community, he pretends he speaks Kashubian. It means he uses Polish word with Kashubian accent, which is very funny. So it's the reality.
Yeah. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, it's like these discussions are interesting, This, you know, the questions of whether it's competing identities or the complementing identities and the multi-level identities. First, let me thank all of the presenters, Alina, Artur, and Tomasz. Once again, thank you.